Well, I don't know yet what we're going to see at the end of the conference, but no, he's right in the sense that this is about the role of biodiversity in sustainable development, and so it's more than just money. On the other hand, we have a set of very, very ambitious targets that countries have agreed, the Aichi targets, and therefore we need to have some minimum financial muscle to actually act on them. Otherwise, I don't think we're going to get there in 2020. On the other hand, there are things that we can do, actually. For example, we can prioritize some of the targets that are catalytic, that can multiply the precious resources that we have available for us at this stage. Let's hope that this momentum and this logic predominates in the final negotiations that will take place. I believe, talking to some people who are leading these negotiations, that we may have a way out in which recognizes the current economic conditions that are not very conducive of a lot of fiscal relaxation, let's put it this way. But on the other hand, there's also great recognition that we need to move and we need to mainstream biodiversity in the development agenda. And we can do this without necessarily having to finance our way into every step in every sector. We need to see which ones are the best entry points for us to achieve that. If countries can agree with that, both developed and developing countries, then I think we have a way forward that's actually going to be quite successful.
And do you think there is that understanding? I mean, this week, François Hollande and Angela Merkel are busy discussing the future of the euro. Do you think there's that understanding amongst developing countries that, look, with this kind of crisis taking place, we might just have to go a bit more slowly than we anticipated?
Well, yes and no. At the same time, they also understand that they need to have themselves, a new strategy for resource mobilization that actually helps them get out of this trap that we find ourselves in. And we're liquidating natural capital, we are liquidating natural resources and not internalizing a lot of those gains. And it's not solely by international assistance that developing countries are going to get out of that situation. It's by reforming their own economies, it's by introducing policy measures that will take them closer to that objective. So it's not just a question, again, of money coming from overseas development assistance, but it's also about commitments that are political, that are decisions that will enable certain sectors to get into a better, more sustainable trajectory. So it's, I think that there are ways that we can go forward without necessarily having to, at this stage in time, count on immense resources that, by the way, are not available at this point in time, and we can't create money where none exists.
Natural capital has been talked a lot this year, particularly at Rio and also here. Do you think there's a growing awareness of the role that plays?
Oh, absolutely. If you were here for 2 weeks, as I have, it's going to be very rarely that you won't hear mention to natural capital, that you won't hear mention that we need green economies to take root everywhere. So the recognition that this is about reforming economic systems, reforming production systems, about cleaning supply chains. It's about having a more sustainable path to production, much more than, oh, this is a matter of developed countries transferring money to developing countries as a way to pay, for costs that, may have been skewed in this equation that deals with the public common goods. So I think that there is, I think, a very clear understanding by all parties that it's not just North versus South anymore. It's about North and South working together towards a solution to this problem. It will involve some cash, it will involve some additional resources, but it's not just that. Even if we had today, I would say $30 billion, $40 billion, without the frameworks that are necessary, we wouldn't achieve that, and that's the reality.
What impact do you think India's pledge of $50 million, if any, had on the talks? It struck me as a bit like playing a game of poker. It was upping the stakes to everyone else.
Well, the host country always has the role of actually pulling everybody up. I think it's a great commitment. I think it signals that this is what we need to do in other countries. They are committing to doing new resource mobilization strategies, and this is part of what the GEF, for example, provides resources for them to do in the context of their national biodiversity appropriate strategies. And we hope that the India example will be followed by others, because it's their money for their own development, but for a different kind of development. And I hope that if others follow suit, very soon we're going to have that movement coming up, and it's just about the South waiting for the leadership of donors financially, as I see, but the other way around.
And I know the Global Environment Facility talks a lot about finance being investments in the future, and investments in supply chains. Do you sense that sort of concept is permeating through to all the governments that you speak to?
Well, again, I believe that the concept is very attractive, and again, we like to see biodiversity investments as being investments and not costs that you have to bear all the time. It's not about offsetting the preservation of biodiversity through a cash transfer. It's about making sure that ecosystems can still provide the services that, by the way, serve the poorest of the poor, and whose substitution by other means would cost much more. So yes, they are investments, and they should be seen as investments, which is not the case for other environmental issues.
And you're a very lucky man, because in a month's time you've got another 2-week conference to look forward to. How is this conference set up, the climate talks?
I don't know. This is a very consequential conference. For the first time, we have, coming out of Aichi, coming out of the Nagoya, the Aichi targets plus a roadmap for financial mobilization. So they can do a lot with those two elements. Doha, I think, is more about how do we implement this now, and I think that the Climate Change Convention needs to get in the mode of the Biodiversity Convention, which has elected that the priority is not to negotiate more, the priority is actually to implement more. And the GEF as a financial mechanism of all these conventions, that's why we have to spend time following these processes and following their guidance, is to try to bring them closer together. We provide financing for all the Rio Conventions, and building on these synergies is another way to actually multiply the available resources beyond the individual funding lines that we have.
Okay, and a final point, keep the difficult questions to the end. In about maybe 24 hours, we might see this conference coming to a conclusion. What for you would represent, from a financial perspective, a success?
It has to be more than we have now. I think status quo is clearly, and everybody declared there, even the donors, not really an acceptable outcome. How this additional resource is going to materialize and over what time frame remains to be seen, because it's part of the negotiations. But I don't think that there's anyone that's saying we don't need more and that we will not put more on the table. India just done that. I think that there are developing countries that are donors to the GEF that are willing to step up their contributions to the GEF. And that should set the example for others that have a larger share in this trust fund, in this arrangement. And I'm pretty hopeful that any increment signifies progress, signifies a new roadmap that we hadn't had before.